Hey there, it's Stacy from Vintage Dollhouse Shop. Thanks for popping by. Today we're going to be talking about these great little kits that I've made and made available on my website. Calling it a dollhouse for a dollhouse, or a mini shadow box. You can put it together in about 30 minutes, including drying time. So let's do it. So here we are at my workbench. And we're gonna first show you what the dollhouse looks like when it's completely built, because it's always helpful, I think, to see what the kit is gonna look like when it's done. So after you glue the parts together, this is what you will have. And then after that, you can style it up as any way you like. Here's a few options. This one is just painted a nice blush pink. This one here, oops. It has some furniture in it. Now, as I said before, this is 144th scale. This is 144th scale furniture floating around in there. This one I decorated using coffee stir sticks. And I put a few on top to create kind of a barn house, farmhouse kind of feeling. But you can also do something like this. This is actually fabric that looks like cork that I got at the craft shop to create those cork floors, or you could use real cork. And this is actually a corrugated paper from the craft section that I've painted to look more like a metal roof. This one here was decoupaged with vintage greeting cards. So that's a Mod Podge project. This one was all decoupaged on the inside. So that's just to give you some fun ideas. And if you don't want to put furniture in it, you could also put little tiny things in it and just set it on your desk. It's just a good little handheld size. So let's take a look at the kit pieces. So this is what you'll receive when you order one. I'm going to set my phone down this way so that you can see. So I take the kit, first of all, and I divide the pieces. So I have my base piece and I have my floor piece. Those are the two biggest pieces, so they're real easy to pick out. The wall pieces have these little lines drawn on them, and you'll see that they match up over here on the kit. So I get my walls ready together. Now I have a few little pieces left, and it looks like they're really close to the same size, but they're not. This little tiny one here, the smallest piece in the kit, is your side wall for here. Then you've got two pieces that are the same. Those are your floors. Those will go here, like so. And then you've got three roof pieces, and you'll notice that they are slightly different. They're not the same sizes. Turn this one over, and you'll see this one has a, that one went all the way over there. You see this one has a little line on it. That's because on this kit, we're just gonna glue it like this together, and that line is showing you that that board is actually a tiny smidgen longer, so that when you do this, they'll be the same length. And then your longest piece is for your long set of roof there. All right, so let me bring my phone over here, and let's see if we can make it together. Okay, so for this project, I'm just using a craft bond glue. This one has a so-called precision tip. I do think it comes out a little fast, but you can use any kind of glue on this project. This is a super lightweight 16th inch basswood, and so just your basic Elmer's glue will hold it together. All right, so I usually start by going with this middle line here. And so I look for the board that's going to go. You want your lines to match up, and that'll tell you which side of the wood to glue. So I get that lined up on here, and that's creating my interior wall. And you just kind of want to move it around until it's all flush. So next I do the floors, and I start by doing the side and the back of one board. And then I take my other floor just to save glue and make it easy, and I just kind of tap them together. And then I tap each of the ends. I really could put glue on both ends at the same time, I guess, here. So now I have glue on 3 sides of each of these boards. So let me turn it this way so you can see it a little better. So I slide this board in there to make that floor, and I just kind of line it up. You know, if you choose to modify this or hack it your own way or only use one floor or put it in the center, you can, because these are just drawn on there. So once you paint over them, those won't show. So you can modify this kit if you choose to not use both floors. That's up to you. So I kind of slide that in. You can see I've got a tiny little bit of room. And I bring in my last floor piece. It's going to go like that. So I glue that, and then I just go ahead and add a little bit of glue there on those lines where my floors are going to go. I need both hands for this, so I got to bring it around. And I just kind of tap it on there. So now you can see I'm slightly back here. This one's not quite lined up. It's no problem. I just tap this till it goes over. And I made it so that you do have a little bit of extra room rather than have it be too tight. So there is like maybe a millimeter there. All right, so next I want to make sure that my floors are level. That one needs to go up slightly on that end. To me, it helps to kind of turn it up and take a look at it. You know, the nice thing is if it's not perfect, it's no big deal. It's real easy to pop this apart and, you know, just do it before the glue's completely dry and then just fix it. Wipe off the glue as you go, but I don't worry so much about the glue up here in these corners. I kind of will take a little Q-tip and take that out after it's somewhat dry, but I don't worry about it at this stage because I don't want to pop it open. So once you have those two walls up, then we're going to go ahead and add the other little wall while we're at it. We're just kind of in a wall roll here. So get some glue on this and bring this one down here to the end. So I am making sure that each of these pieces lines up on the floor. But it's a forgiving little kit. As long as it's, you know, if it's not exactly on the end, it's not the end of the world. And I just kind of move it into place. I come back and usually check it after the glue's been sitting for a few minutes. And at this point, I'll let the glue rest for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes just to get its hold. So we'll come back as soon as we're done with that. I was thinking while we wait for that little piece to dry for a few minutes, it's just easier if the wall's dry before you add the roof. I thought I would show you one little step that I've been using in case you want to think about doing this before you build. So this one I covered with a brick paper, and I think it looks really good. I think it's a very good scale for this tiny of a house, although you could use it in a bigger house too. I got that paper from Hobby Lobby. It's 59 cents for the sheet. And one of the things that I did on that house before so I turned my paper over so that I have my back side. I'm getting out another kit here. I took my back wall and I took my exterior side walls, which are going to be one long one. I should have taken these things out of the bag before I started making the video. This is my first YouTube video like this, so I'll figure it out. Please have patience with me and be kind. I took my little side wall. That one's going to go down there. And then I know too that this top part of my exterior wall is also going to need paper, as you can see here. But that's such a tiny little piece. So anyway, what I did is I turned my paper upside down so that the markings would be on the back. And I got my pen as close to the piece as I could, and I just kind of traced each of the things. And I'm going to show you. I didn't do exactly that on the walls, but on the back piece, I just traced it as close to exactly what it was going to be as I could. Now, when I did these pieces here, I thought about how I wanted there to be some paper that kind of rolled over, and you'll see, where'd it go? Oh my gosh, it's all the way over here. Okay, so you can see maybe there that the corners have kind of so that it's contingent all the way across. So what I did is I made little flaps when I traced these pieces out. So I traced 3 sides, which would be the edges. But then on the piece over here, I just went ahead and made it bigger. I moved the piece over actually, about halfway, and then traced it again. And it's better to go a little bit big so that you can trim it down later. But I just did that and made a little extra flap so that when I attach it to the house, I attach these pieces first and glue those flaps around. And then this piece here just goes right on the top. But that way it's gluing to these little flaps, which you might be able to slightly see. I don't think so. Nope, they're pretty well covered. So that's one thing to do. That's just a thought. So let's get back to the other dollhouse and show you how we finished building it. Okay, we're coming back to the little mini dollhouse here. I guess I should have mentioned on that earlier segment, you can do the same thing if you want to go ahead and cut out space for your floors. You can cut those papers out before you glue it together too. I did do that. I mean, once I created one length of paper, then I had a template, and so I used that to create the others. Now I will tell you, this little piece of flooring here on this end is shorter. So you can make 1, 2, 3. This will be the same width, but it's going to be a little shorter on this one. So just to keep that in mind. And if you want, you can also go ahead and cut the paper out by using the same piece here for your interior walls. And you can do all of that before you glue it together. I don't always do that, but you can. All right, so let's continue on now. We're back in our little piece, and we're to the part where we're going to add this to the floor. So I go ahead, this is going to be my floor base. Doesn't matter which way you turn it. Same thing with all of these boards. The only ones that it matters is the wall ones that have the little markings to help you line up the floors and make your floor straight. All right, so let's apply some glue. Oh my gosh, just in that 5 minutes, this glue is like drying out so quickly. Go ahead and put a few pieces there. Always get too much glue. I'm kind of a lot of glue person, but I like it that way. I can wipe it off later. So now you have a choice. You can set the house back on the back of the stand. Let's see if you can see that. So the stand is a little bit wider than the house. That's for balance, to make the house not so tippy. So you can choose to set it to the back or to set it to the front. And you'll see on mine, I've set it to close to the front to create, that one is actually an earlier version. Here's the more recent version. To create a little ledge on the back. Here you go. So that could be like part of the yard. Or if you wanted, on this one, you could maybe create a door and cut out a door and make it look like a house on this side. I haven't provided those options because this is a super easy house, but you can dress it up however you like. So we're back to this one, and we're going to go ahead and set it to the front. So I just put it on the base. And at this point, I'll kind of check to make sure my walls and my floors look good. It's been sitting for a few minutes, but everything looks pretty good. Now I'll let this sit for just a few more minutes, and then we'll come back and put on the roof. Okay, while we wait for that piece to dry, I thought we'd talk just a little bit about what I mentioned earlier on the coffee stirrers. So not all coffee stirrers are equal. I've ordered some that are kind of rounded in the middle and fat. and not completely flat. If you want to check out my Amazon picks, I have provided a link to my favorite coffee stirrers, which are nice and flat and easy to cut. So you might ask, how do you cut it? I use this tool here, and you can use, you know, they're not very big. You can probably use scissors, but I'll show you why I like to use this tool here. And this is also available on my Amazon. If you purchase anything from an Amazon link, I do get a small commission as an affiliate on Amazon. Honestly, it's not like a huge source of income. So if you find one at a better deal, take the better deal. Like, I'm not going to push it. I'm just telling you like what I like. You make your own choices. So these miter shears, probably need to change the blades on those. You undo your safety here, and then they open, and you'll see you've got this little piece here that can turn. The reason why that is easier to use than scissors, let me remove the furniture out of this. Here's the piece I did. And you'll notice that up here at the top, there's an angle, right? And down here, there's an angle along that roof. Those are actually different angles on those roofs. Using miter shears like these, not only can you cut things to be flat, but you can cut things on an angle. So once you figure out what you want your angle to be, you can cut a bunch of those boards. Oops. And then, you know, like I could have just used one board all the way down, but it looks more realistic to cut some in the center. Some people like to sand those. I was going for kind of a rough look here. But you can definitely make them as neat as you would like to. And then once you do that, you can paint them. So I found on this little house, it actually, the width on this worked really nice to do 4 on the ends. On either end, you can see those all match up. I could stain this. That would look really cute too. So anyway, a miter shear, especially on these little things, they're super easy to cut, probably easier on your hands than scissors would be. And again, you can adjust the angles however you like it. This is a tool I use all the time in the Dollhouse workshop. If you don't have one, I would suggest, you know, they're not very expensive. I think they're like around 28 bucks, which depending on your income, that could be perceived as expensive, but it's a tool you'll use a lot and you'll definitely get your money's worth. I bought one, and I think I have one featured on my Amazon that comes with an extra blade. So just kind of keep an eye out for that. And now let's get back to the tiny house and adding the roof on it. Okay, we've put together 7 pieces in our mini dollhouse now, our little tiny shadow box. I intentionally created this as a shallow box to make it easy to display items so they don't get lost in a small house. So it could even be like a bookshelf in a dollhouse. That's how I've set this one up. I didn't do anything to it except paint it white. So we're down to our final 3 pieces. I joked in a reel I made that this is the hard part, but it's not really. So I don't like dollhouses that have tabs and insert this tab here and that tab there. So this might be easier to build if there were tabs, but I'm not a tab person. So I add glue to one end of my long piece of roof. I picked the longest piece. And then I add some glue to the top of this piece here. So I have some glue on the end and some glue on these pieces. And then I just set this piece gently down there. Now I like to just keep it all flush. So I just check that it's flush here. And this one extends a little bit in the back. Oops, a lot of glue. It's no big deal though, because I'm gonna cover it with paper. So just wipe that down and make sure it looks even against the house. Here, it needed that. All right, now we go on to our other 2 pieces. So as I mentioned, you've got this one piece that has the little line, and you've got the other piece, and you'll see that that little line is actually a bit longer. So that's the piece that's going to go over the top. So I put a little glue along that line. And then the same thing I did over there is I put the glue on the top of the house. And I go ahead and put some on these walls. There. So now I take my other piece of board and I put it against the line. And kind of smash it in there to get a good fit. So I'm going to bring it over to my house now. It's hard for me to do at this angle actually, so if it's a little weird, it's probably going to be easier for you looking on it head on. I kind of need to turn it actually. All right. I have too much glue on my hands. Okay, that's the hardest part. So it's all flush. I see that this would bother me. I'm gonna see this one sticking up a little bit, and then I'm just gonna bring it down a tad. Perfect. Actually, since I do have these little sticks here, I often will just take one of these little sticks to wipe out my extra glue. These are great just to have around. And then I flip it around, see if I got a bunch of glue there. I actually don't, surprisingly. A little bit of glue here. And then that's it, you know, let the glue dry for whatever, depending on what kind of glue you have, maybe 40 minutes, an hour, 15 minutes I've done them. And then you can take your next steps of decorating. So that's what we did. We built a tiny little mini shadow box house. Again, these are available on my website. Just a fun little kit that you can make in 30 minutes with just some glue and absolutely no skill. You can set it on your desk at work. You can put it on a kitchen counter to fill with little happy, joyous things. You could put mini pictures of your family members in it. Just wanted to create something that you could have fun with and not have to be stressed about and not have to have sitting around an unfinished project. So I hope that looked easy. These are fun little kits. I think you're gonna want more than one. They're really great to decorate. They could be little gifts that you could give to people filled with meaningful mementos. And they are available on my website, vintagedollhouseshop.com. And you might check out my Amazon links if you want to look for what I think are the best coffee stirs available that you can get. So have fun with it. Thanks everybody for visiting, and keep living in a mini world. Have a good one.